Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're back in War Thunder looking at the new Kuban. The Kuban that we all knew from update 1.67 and before has gone and has been replaced by this one. And there have been some significant changes. And for me personally, I think the restrictions are a hell of a lot better than the actual changes themselves. As you can see, they've put some anti-tank traps across this ridge here, so you aren't able to get into the positions I showed in the last video when I was archiving Kuban. They've also done the same thing here, so you can't sit on any of these hills at the back, basically being able to shoot the whole of the map from here. So that's very nice to see. There's also some tank traps here, since I've flattened this bit out. And it's basically just to stop people from camping in the back. They've just made sure, very particularly, to stop people from getting up into that position over there. The one that I categorized last time as a big issue. But we're going to start in the north, because the north is probably the most similar to the old map, so probably the best place to start. There are definitely some major changes, but the general layout of the map is very similar. So when they talked about changing Kuban in the dev blog post or the news post, they put a massive emphasis on flattening it out, so making it less hilly, or basically just making the hill smaller, and I think that is really shown in the north of the map. There are still hills here, there are still little inclines, and there are definitely a lot more rolling hills. But when we talk about the massive monstrosities that we used to be able to get up, such as those ones, I think they've just taken them out of the game. So they've added a few more rocks, they've added a few more hills in this area. But generally this place really hasn't changed that much. It's basically exactly the same. We still have this sinkhole here, which I have no idea why it's here. I'm guessing their thoughts is to use it as a spawn point for something. Kind of like on Ash River on the hill on that map on the left side. Then we have a river or a pond down there that we'll get to in a little bit. But let's look at the main fighting compartments, because obviously generally people aren't going to fight in the water over there. So this is the first one. This is the first area where the team on the left side are going to have to fight. And the great thing about it is you have basic cover from everywhere over there apart from that hill, which is very close. It's around about this area. So the enemy team isn't going to be able to get there. And generally, as you can see on the map, I have some green AIs around that area. You will have teammates around that area. So if you are fighting this corner, which you should do in heavy tanks and stuff like that, trying to fight down this area here, basically down the road to this position. Maybe that's a better view. It's a bit hilly and all over the place. I am also on high graphics, by the way, not on max or movie. So if you know, if it doesn't look as nice, that's why. But anyway, yeah, you basically have a corridor of death down here. It's very similar to how I remember a lot of old World of Tanks maps used to be. You used to basically have a heavy tank corridor, whether it be a city, which is a few streets across, or whether it's literally a line where it is seen that heavy tanks should go down. And that, to me, is one of those lines, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. You can obviously just miss that line and go around to a position like this, and this exposes you slightly to the right, but your teammates should be covering that, but it does also mean that you can get shot from that hill over there, which is a hill which stays. That hill has been a constant in all of the maps of Kuban, and I'm happy that it is. I think it's a good hill. So you can flank into this position here, or you can go into this little divot and attack them at the crossroads, which I think is the best place to attack them. There's the crossroads, you can shoot straight in, you can use this big hill as cover. It's a pretty nice little position that you can take. The only thing, as I said, you can get flanked by that hill. Something that is also interesting is the fact that getting to these positions is quite easy using that northern road. You're not really going to be under a lot of pressure unless somebody you know, moves really quickly from the spawn through that little area there from the pink side. which they may do. It is an area to check. But let's say you don't do that, and let's say you just follow this path here, as you can see, through this bit. You'll be under no attack from anything from that position, and you'll be able to get to here. Now this position here covers that whole crossroads. Let's just get rid of that tree to show you, and stop knocking down trees in front of me. But look, if you have any gun depression at all, which of course this T44 does not, so we'll just go down the hill a little bit just to show you. But you could be anywhere on this hill and just sit here and watch that corner, and there will be tanks from the enemy spawn which will come out. They have two options. They either come out here, or they come out here, which unfortunately I can't put down. But you know where I mean, basically the two crossroads of this area. Because the split point is here. They either go straight around this bit, or they go this way across the hill. So with one tank you can cover this whole area, and it takes you maybe 20-30 seconds to get to this position, probably about the same time that the first tank is either going to appear out of that area, or just after the first tank has got to the next little spot along this road. But this position you can get to without anybody firing upon you, and it's not exactly a hard position to get to. From here though, you're kind of stuck. Like if you push forward, you can push forward to that area I talked about before right there and hold that corner. You can push here and try and push on the other road, where generally people will flock out of here, but that really leaves you open to the center of the map where the middle domination point is. From this side, I actually really don't like spawning in the top. Even though, once again, the map looks a lot better up here. It looks a lot more competitive and a lot more to do with the rolling hills. Basically, rolling hills are a great idea in most tank games, because it means that it gives you artificial parts of the map where you can just chuck in a rolling hill. That means that people can get hull down, or people can be able to hide parts of their tank and shoot over the hill as long as they have a little bit of gun depression. That's the way I see them. But anyway, from this position, let's see you spawn here. You have two options, really. I suppose you could go to the center, but if you wanted to do that, why wouldn't you spawn in the south? So we get to this position, which I talked about before. You either go left or right. And then let's say you go right. You're going to be fighting down this corner for a good 5 or 10 minutes, if you feel like it. Let's just stick here. If you have good armor, you're going to push up to about this position. You're going to expose part of your tank. If you want to side scrape, of course you can. So you just do that. Maybe a bit too ferocious, but you need to cover that low glacis. And you just sit there and wait. Wait for people to come in. Wait to attack them. It's all going to depend on the physical model of these rocks, and so far I haven't had any issues with it. The roots seem to be kind of solid, which is kind of annoying. But once you get to this position and push through, well, you're kind of open to the elements, aren't you? It's not great. It's not a great position to be in. And well, you can't go right. You can go left, but you have to go up a hill. And you can be open to all of the elements which are on those rolling hills, or you go straight and attack up here and then push around the main north road, which isn't a terrible idea. It's basically the road that a lot of people used to take anyway. But that's your basic options from the right side, from the north spawn. They're not great. They're definitely not as flexible as they are from the left side, but then again, on the left side you've always had a bit more flexibility when it came to what you can do. The new flexibility for the right side comes in the form of the south spawn. So first of all, I'm just going to show you what happened to me the first time I actually got on this map. When I read about this being a pond and being able to, you know, move around the map, and maybe the idea was you could flank, but it would take you a long time, so it would be shallow water. So I thought, I was in a locust, and I just decided, you know what, I'll just see how deep it is. If it's too deep for a locust, that's not great. And then I just went barreling in, and it's literally a pond. So yeah, you have to go around there in PT boats, which is kind of a real shame, to be honest. It would have been nice if they made that a little bit shallower, so people could actually use it much more as a flanking position, so it was not just for PT boats. Because, especially from the right side, you have two options you can go from in that north spawn, whereas on the left side, you know, you have at least 3 areas where you can attack. But yeah, it would have been nice, but hey-ho. Maybe they decided that if they made it shallow, people would just flank and destroy the spawn on the right side, which, yeah, I can understand that. It is a bit close to the spawn when it comes to that pond, but yeah, you can only use that part if you decide to be in a PT boat. So the PT-76, the LVT, not the Japanese one, unfortunately, but, you know, stuff like that. Stuff that can float in water. Test out at your discretion. So we're going to have a look at the south spawn now. As you can see, they've added some buildings and everything like that. This may be a terrible idea, but I'm going to give it a go. I need to check this out. I may have to change vehicle. We'll have to see. Oh, yeah. This was silly. I need a heavier vehicle for this. I should have brought an IS-2, to be honest. Most or the majority of these buildings and the log piles you can actually move on this map, which is very nice. It does cause a little bit of lag every once in a while, depending on what you're felling, really. Like there are certain piles of logs that you can't move. If they have like a structure around them, so let's say they have girders in the ground which are holding them in place, you're not able to bash them about. With the houses, I mean, you can pretty much fell everything. I haven't found a house yet which has not been able just to be driven through, but maybe these ones, since they have concrete supports on the bottom, or concrete foundation I should say, so maybe you can't actually get at it. But this is basically a lumber camp, which they've added to the game. There you go. There goes the logs, there goes the lag, and here comes the building being destroyed. So this is a nice aesthetic thing. It's always nice to have stuff like this around the map. It also adds additional cover for people. This is where... oh, the lag. It's gonna hurt sometimes. But yeah, this is the main capture point, so you can use a lot of the houses for cover and stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how tank destroyers use this. I feel like a lot of tank destroyers are going to sit in positions like this, especially stuff like NAS horns and stuff like that, and be able to shoot through the building and be able to shoot over there somewhere. You know, just use this as a decent position, because obviously, you know, you're covered by this house. The actual... the damage model of the house is pretty good, and you know, if you miss, well, you fell a house anyway, and generally your shell will go through the house. So what I mean is, I moved those logs, so you saw me move those logs, right, when I hit them. Eventually they're going to disappear after you hit them. Logs like this up here, you're not going to be able... oh, hello. Enjoy a HE. Like, logs like this, which are kept in place, as you can see, these are unmovable, so I'm guessing as well they're going to count a bit more as strong defense, instead of the wooden ones, which you can just roll around, that you should just be able to shoot through. But it's still a nice little addition, it gives you a little bit more cover. Let's just see. Yeah, it looks like you can shoot through them. Maybe it gets rid of some of the pen. But the idea behind all of these houses and lumber camps is to give the defensive team something to hold if, let's say, you lose the north flank, or let's say you're getting attacked. It gives your tank destroyers and your defensive tanks something to use. But what always seems to be amiss to the majority of developers, or maybe they think about this and they just don't know how to solve it, but these things, if used correctly, can just look straight into the spawns and hold you there. And there's not really a lot you can do about it if you can't see the tanks. You have to be able to get shot before you can see them. So that is something to take into account. Now, I'm guessing... oh no, you can fell it. Okay, you just can't ram it because it's on the foundation. That's nice to see. Alright, let's switch to HE. So yeah, it's nice to see a little lumber camp around the points, but as I said, it benefits the aggressors as much as the defenders. And if you're trying to solve the issue of spawn camping, then that's not going to help. So let's have a look and see if they got rid of the position that I talked about before. This has changed slightly. We have slightly different terrain. Some of it's flat, some of it's a lot more steep. And that is the hill that we used to use to have a look over the whole of the map. And they've added a bunch of jagged rocks and stuff like that. So the only position I can really think about you could go up is there. Maybe with a Hellcat, but it's not a great position to have a go at. But everywhere has these tank traps. I think they've learnt their lesson when it comes to Kuban. They've decided where there isn't anti-tank traps, there's going to be jagged rock, and where there is jagged rock, there doesn't have to be anti-tank traps. Everything means that you can't get up these ridiculous hills. So that means that we're forced into this very wide choke points. And I personally really like fighting around here. This is what seems to be a work camp or a prisoner of war camp, something like that. As you can see by the watchtowers and the buildings, and obviously the lumber camp over there. All of these buildings you can smash through, which is a good and a bad thing, because it means if somebody drops artillery, your FPS is going to die. So it's nice to... Look, right, I just want to put something out there. The quality of design of these houses is amazing. So, in every house you have supporting walls. Depending on how big the house is, the supporting wall there should either be one or two of them. This house has one, and as you can see, you can shoot through it, but when you fell a house, it's amazing how those supporting walls sometimes stay up. And that, to me, is just a nice little part of the care of the house. But, you know, it could just be a furnace or or something like that, but I like to think it's a supporting wall. But anyway, everything in this environment is destructible, so it's very similar to the town on Tunisia, where if you call a bunch of artillery onto it or have a bunch of KV-2 shoot at it, you can actually destroy the whole town. That's very similar to this work camp. So don't rely on these buildings if you know that the enemy is over in this position. So to enter this area, you have to actually kind of make yourself seen. I mean, obviously at the start of a battle there's a lot of buildings and everything there, so it's not that easy for the enemy to see you. But I suppose if you stick to this road here, which is the tighter road to the rocks, you can sit behind these rocks over here, and you won't be seen until you move up. This also gives you the opportunity to either move up here or down to there, and we'll just have a look up here for you. So that's going to be a dead area. You're never really going to be looking over there unless you get overrun. But you have this position here. Now this position here is interesting. It reminds me of the position on the 38th parallel map, where in the center near the little village on the slight left side between the 2 points, you have this little area, and you can kind of just sit on it and shoot people coming out of everywhere. Well, on this map you can't do that because they've added rocks everywhere, and you can see it's a conscious design decision to do that. You're trying to block off certain ways you can shoot in favor of others. So from this position, I can shoot anyone who's coming into this area. I can lock down this whole area if I felt like it. But what I can't do is I can't shoot over here, which is the main part of the map. So every part of this map is kind of singled out by itself, which I think is actually kind of nice. You are able to get up here if you feel like it, but as you can see, you have to really, really expose yourself. And it's going to be pretty obvious that you're here. So I'm not too bothered about that. And also, you leave yourself open to the back. So the south side, being very new, it's incredibly excluded from the rest. There's jagged rocks and hills all the way down here. There's only certain roads you can go down. It's not as open as this whole area in the north and the middle, as you can see. So this is going to be a fight in itself. So a position like this is going to be a key position, because you can completely lock down the main road that the right side is going to come down. You can lock down that main road which they're going to come. You will have to expose yourselves there, though, which is an issue. From this point, you can either go left or right, so you can go to the, you can go over here, or you can go towards the center. So you do have a bit of flexibility here. As I said, you can destroy everything in this area. Ooh, kill your FPS at the same time, or at least my FPS. Your rig may be able to deal with it a bit better. Mine has like a slight stutter and just starts like putting up the white flag saying "kill me now." But as you can see, you can get you can get a bunch of wood on top of you, and be able. You can actually move it about. I want to see what it looks like on an enemy screen. Now, I thought I was able to con this map. I saw this area over here, and I thought, oh, they haven't put the rocks as close as they should have done. Maybe I can get around certain parts of it. But once again, we have a logging camp, so I think this is probably a labor camp when it comes to it. But there you go. Beautiful log physics for about 5 seconds. And then you've got this little divot here, which actually connects both sides of the map. And I thought, hey, maybe we can use this bit up here. There's some rocks over there. Maybe we can do that. Ooh, there's some rocks up here. Oh, return to battlefield. Okay. They've thought about this. They've thought about all of this, and I'm not happy about it. It means that all the points that I found that I can exploit, well, every time I look at a point, I think maybe I can do that, and then 5 or 10 seconds later it's dashed. So this whole area is void now, unless you get into that little divot there and move your way around. If you can't do that, which is going to be impossible to do, because you basically have to go from this position into this divot, around that rock into that divot, and then around, yeah, that's not going to work unless there's nobody here, and then you might as well just go straight through. So from a fighting position point of view, on this south side, I actually prefer the right side of the map. They have this wonderful little, I think you'd call it hill, I suppose. Little fraction? No. Little crack in the ground. And that means if you have a little bit of gun depression, you can actually get hull down here. Even with the T-44, as you can see, I can get hull down from this position. Because of the way that this area is sloped, it means that it's open to a lot of tanks to be able to take this position. If you have a bit more gun depression, then you go over to this side over here. If you have less, then you move over here. It's as simple as that. And I think being able to get hull down here, also being able to get shots up on that position that I talked about before, I think all of these are really good positions to be able to hold this area. Now, does that mean you need to be defensive at the start of the battle? Yep, it does. But that's sometimes how it is. One thing I would like to see, which is a slight criticism if I can get to it. There's another house there, another haystack. Everything, it seems, is destructible on this map, apart from the wood, which has the supports around it, so you can't move that. But let's see if I'm correct here. That is basically the south of the map. It is a part of the map which is secluded within itself, and I think that's completely fine. If you have a map which is 3 points completely secluded, then yeah, it's kind of annoying. But having 1 point secluded by itself, that's completely fine. So yeah, you have this bit up here, which I think this road would be much better if it was mirrored on the other side of this hill. You're going to need quite a tight little tank to get up here, and since it's quite steep, it's going to be hard to get to. But you have full coverage from this position over to here, which is B. Now, the way that I see it working is, for Gaijin personally, what they've done is they've made this road pretty much impossible to be able to get up, right? If you see the position of the road and the position that I had to take to go up, then you're going to be able to be shot from all of these areas up here. So the RNG element is basically if the enemy know that this position is here, and if they decide that somebody is going to climb it, which I'm pretty sure somebody is going to climb it every time, because from this position you have full coverage of at least two of the domination points, and also you can shoot into the labor camp over there. Now you do have to expose yourself slightly up here, but it's not anything crazy, especially when it comes to realistic battles. But what I would like to see, personally, it would be to see this road actually put here instead on the other side. Now this may make this position a bit too powerful. I'm not exactly sure if it would, because obviously you can take positions like this, but there's always going to be somebody who sees you. This place is too open to be effective. That's why you've got to sit behind the, you know, over here in this area. But it would be nice to see the south get a bit more advantage. The way I see this map overall is that in the center it's kind of a free-for-all, right? It's, it's some rolling hills, it's people fighting over positions, having a lot of fun, influencing the north of the map. And then the north is dominated by the green side because they can hold down that main road. If they have any PT tanks, then they can literally walk into the right side spawn. They have some beautiful positions using the rolling hills, looking over that main north road, and also using the rolling hills to come to the center. The center is generally quite balanced, as you can see. The bridge makes a return, which is lovely to see. I love that bridge. But generally the center is pretty well balanced from both sides, and then the south has a right side advantage. That's the way I see it. And by south I mean the like the work town or the labor camp and the you know, those two hills at the back. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. So far in a lot of my matches it seems like people just go to the north and just try and fight in the north, and therefore the right side gets pretty much canned every time unless they're able to use the place where I am right now to be able to flank the enemy using a bunch of these hills. I think what we're going to see, or at least what I hope to see in the next few weeks, is people shift in the right, going more south and pushing around into the enemy spawn. Very much what we see on maps like Carpathians, where you take that southern road, you push into the enemy spawn, and you just keep them there and shut down a whole position that the enemy takes. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with this map. I will do a key positions onto it, but I do want to keep my things going in order, so it will be a while until we get a key positions of Kuban, but hopefully I've showed you some of them, especially in the north and the south, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.